Hey, kia ora koutou whānau, ki te piha koe, how you all doing? Isn't this a bit strange for us all tonight? So good to be with you. And ironically, as we're starting the show off tonight, Chewy had some issues with his computer. So he's gone off to try and reboot, and I'm sure he'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Thank you for being with us. I can see right now there are 42 people watching us in YouTube, as we are not on in YouTube. Let me show you the screen, shall I? Have a look at this. So this is what's happening in YouTube right now. People are watching this and listening to the lovely background music like that. Put the background music on there just so people knew something was moving. It's free. And there are 40, now there's 43 people watching us over there. So obviously you guys can't hear this because you're watching us over there, because we have had a couple of strikes put on us. Which I'm happy to talk to you about and let you know what's going on. And so hopefully this will be the only night that we won't be live streaming to YouTube. Oh gosh, look at the numbers going up in here already. Good to see you all. Hopefully the numbers will be back, on YouTube tomorrow night. But because it's a massive multinational based in, I think it's Palo Alto, isn't it? California, somewhere in California. The strikes that got put on us, I believe the strikes that were put on us to be, I don't believe we've breached copyright. I've had some legal advice, not that I've paid for. I had someone approach me who works in copyright, who says they also believe we haven't breached copyright. However, the other party believes we have. So I'm not going to stand on my high horse and say we're 100% right, they're 100% wrong. Much like anything, we have a disagreement. And what YouTube does, let me explain it like this, yeah? If someone was showing something like abhorrent, like sexually explicit, that we all agreed shouldn't be on, because YouTube doesn't have the capacity to check through the 100,000 new videos every single day, they basically go, right, stop. Now let's sort it out. So what we're doing is we're in a situation of sorting it out. However, I have come to a tacit agreement with those who think we have breached their copyright. I've been speaking to very senior management at TVNZ over the last 36 hours, and they have agreed to remove the strikes if we agree to a couple of conditions. They basically don't want us live streaming their leaders debate this week. And whilst I still think the law would be on our side, as you guys already know, we're not going to fight this in a court. And hey, we have to stop talking about Chewy now, guys. Shh, he's here. Shh.
Sound check, but also my fucking camera's weird and blurry.
You're looking okay from here, brother. Remember, you've always got a bit of a blurry face, though, when I see you in real life. So I was just explaining the situation, Chewmeister General, and it's that I actually do believe, and if TVNZ's watching this, I'm not saying this with any disrespect because I've had some legal advice. Well, I should rephrase that. I've had a lawyer who deals with copyright approach me, who is someone who watched the show, who I won't name, but may well be watching now, who has said he thinks that we're fine. TVNZ lawyers think that we're not under Section 42 of the Copyright Act, and it's in dispute. And what YouTube does when something's in dispute is they stop it. So basically we have two options, right? We have to get tied up for the next 2 weeks with no live streaming, or we do a deal with TVNZ where we don't live stream their debate this Thursday night, and we don't live stream anything from them on Saturday night, and they'll take the ticks off. They'll take the copyright strikes off. They were trying to do that today, but now what's happened, unfortunately, is TVNZ is just a very small group amongst other millions of other people who complain to YouTube. So they may have gone to the bottom of the list. They get the strike put on very quickly, but it might end up being now we have to go through the YouTube stompy ground before they can get taken off. So they haven't been taken off tonight. However, you might be watching this on YouTube, because if you are, then you're watching it in delay, because I can still upload to YouTube, which is actually a good thing, because sometimes with 2 strikes, they stop you from uploading any content for 2 weeks. So basically, if you're watching this on YouTube, hi and kia ora, and thanks for joining us, because once this episode finishes, like I do every night, I'll be uploading it to the audio podcast, and I'll be uploading it to YouTube. There goes Chewy. Yeah, Chewy's having some trouble, I think. So hi if you're on YouTube, comment down below, send us some love. Mwah, love you too. Right, so this is sort of where we're at. I wouldn't be surprised if there was more noise made about this particular case in the future. It's not really a case, because I think that what we're doing here is industry standard in the USA. I know some of you guys out there like to watch some of the similar sorts of programs in the US, like David Pakman and even TYT, although they've gone a little bit more centrist right, but, you know, or Sam Cedar, or, you know, these people, all of them, Brian Tyler Cohen, all of them live stream the presidential debates and comment alongside it. This is industry standard in America, but it's not here in New Zealand. And looking behind the curtain a little bit between me and you, New Zealand is way behind in its digital modeling. New Zealand doesn't know how to sell podcasts. They think they do, but what they do is a thing called dynamic advertising. Dynamic advertising is basically taking a radio show, putting it on the internet, and putting ad breaks in it like radio happens. It's not how podcasts get sold. And I've spent 2 years trying to educate the market as to the best way to do it, and it's just been slamming my head against the wall. I've been told in the last, and I won't say by who or from where, but I've been told in the last 24 hours that we're well ahead of our time in what we're doing. We're not ahead of our time on the worldwide scale, because this is what happens in America, but the problem is New Zealand's 10 years behind America. So yeah, what we're doing, believe it or not, in these evening shows might be a bit ahead of its time. But that's only because New Zealand is so far behind. Anyway, I can talk to you more about the ins and outs of what we've been doing, how we're going to move forward, yada, 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 on another day. But just so you know, to the best of my knowledge, TVNZ has requested that at least one of the strikes, if not both of the strikes, come off. As soon as one comes off, then we'll be able to live stream back on YouTube again. Although I'm looking at the number who are live right now, we're actually not that far off what would be on YouTube right now. So if you're new, because you've seen a little bit of the hubbub going around, there are a lot of people who are very, very angry with TVNZ. People within the industry, and I've heard from a lot of people in this industry, the independent news industry, the people who are doing things online, on blogs, on the internet, who are basically shocked at what's happened. Now, again, not a commentary on TVNZ, whether they're right, wrong, or anything. More of a commentary on New Zealand media being so far behind the 8 ball. The New Zealand mainstream media is a little microcosm of this is ours, we won't share it, even though it's detrimental to them. So on Sunday night, right, or Saturday night, I'm going to say, assuming we do a live stream, because to be honest, this has knocked the shit out of me a little bit. I'm exhausted just from going through all of this in the last 48 hours. It's been incredibly stressful, but I'm assuming we're going to, and we won't show any TVNZ. And guess what? They won't get the extra exposure, because it's not like someone watching our little show when we cross to TVNZ for 3 minutes because someone's with Winston Peters and then we cross away. That's not like that person's been drawn away from their audience. But what it has done is stop their exposure to my audience, to our audience. And our audience is small, but you guys aren't going to TVNZ to get that 3 minute clip. but they don't want us to live stream any of their stuff. And if that's how I get the check mark taken off, we've been working on this for up to 2 years. And Saturday night is the culmination of 2 years' work from what I've been doing and what Chewy's joined in on. So because of that, I just need the strike taken off. Now, I'm not saying that, again, if TVNZ is watching, like I'm not going to stand by what we agree to. I will stand by it. I disagree with what they're saying. I disagree with the copyright issue. I have legal advice that disagrees with it, but it's much easier for me just to go, look, fine, we'll do it your way, and I will stand by what we agree to, and then we can finish off this election season correctly. Cool. Like we were already talking about Saturday night, maybe linking up with Bomber, and they're looking at doing something live as well. And I know that Planner Walk's doing something live. We'll probably link up. So it won't just be us and the mainstream media. Hopefully it'll be us and other independents linking up on the night and having a bit of a chat as well. So I think that's pretty much everything I've given you. Yeah, I've noticed that, and look, Chewy's not here yet, so your things are flying by. I've noticed somewhere they're talking about they've talked to RNZ and emailed Colin Peacock about this whole thing. I've also had conversations with media. Other media think that this is a news story, because this is the thing, yeah. And look, I'm actually not wanting to shit on TVNZ, right? Leave them alone. Honestly, leave them alone, because it's not about them. This is about, quote, mainstream media. But this is a current event, right? Nothing could be more current than a live debate. Very more current, in the public interest, in a news setting, being utilised by another news group. It's us not showing stuff reduces the number of people engaging in this election. That's the other part of it, which I find fascinating. Like if we were showing the All Blacks test match, or if we were showing I was going to say Friends, Shortland Street, and just live streaming it so everyone could see it. Different story. This is an election cycle. This is a debate. This is probably the most important election of this portion of time, maybe this generation, especially with all the mis and disinformation going on. And I think that for whatever reason, for commercial sensitivity, for cost, okay, fine, I accept your position. I might not agree with you, but I accept your position. To hinder conversation that is involved with our democratic process and news to the citizens, I just don't understand it. You know, again, I'm not shitting on TVNZ. I'm genuinely not, but like I'm saying, this is a strange situation to me, that a group would want to say, no, this news product you can't use in that way. Now, in saying all of that, you know, as I said, I've been talking with TVNZ the last 2 days. I've got no problems with, we've been doing this on some level. I've been doing this YouTube channel, not this one. Well, maybe it is, because if you're watching it in pre-record, for 5 years, right? This BHN thing has been going on for 18 months. We've probably done 1,000 videos, if you add all the clips up to do with online, with on Twitter and all those sorts of things. We've had 2 complaints for copyright. So everything else we've been doing, the clips, the commenting on clips, all fine, right? All fine, no problems. It's the live stream and the live stream in its entirety, which is the disputable situation. So you can't kind of say that we're just like some trolls have tried to be saying, that we're just a pirate group trying to steal other people's content and play it in full, because we don't do that. It's not what we do. Right, but internationally the model is you sit alongside important current events, debates which add to democracy and add to an election, and you know, I say I'm not trying to shit on TVNZ, but I'll say TVNZ doesn't seem to want us to do that. Haven't heard from News Hub at all. They seem okay with it. I don't know why they wouldn't be, but that's where we're at. So Chewy, I was just saying, I'm not going to. I don't want to shit on TVNZ, because I think this is more of a mainstream media not understanding how to best utilize the digital media world. That's honestly what I think. I spoke to, I'm not even going to get into who it was, it doesn't matter, but I spoke to someone in one of the groups. It sounds really patronizing, but I could tell by the responses I was kind of educating them as to how they should be doing their digital stuff. because this is how it happens internationally. And I don't want to be patronizing, but and it sounds really arrogant to say this, but New Zealand media has this wrong, this whole digital space. It's not radio on the internet. They treat podcasts like groups like MediaWorks and NZME who make radio podcasts. It's basically highlights of radio packages put to the internet with adverts in between. So it's basically radio on the internet. It's like just getting the newspaper and putting it online is not a blog, an opinion blog. It's just the newspaper online. A lot of New Zealanders, especially the mainstream media companies, they do podcasting as radio on the internet, up to and including how they run their advertising for that. And look, if you are watching mainstream media, you've got my number. We'll help you. It'll cost you. We'll help you. Hey, Chewy. Hey, fuzzy face Chewy.
There we go. I fixed it. Yeah, like this has been something that we've struggled with, like all the way through, right? Nobody really knows how to talk to people doing what we're doing.
Or what sell.
Was that classic?
No one knows how to sell it either.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And
I'm interrupting you. I'm interrupting you because I want people to know this. We've had 1 million video views across all of our platforms this month. We've had 1 million. There is not one fucking salesperson in New Zealand that has any idea how to monetize it. We know how to monetize that mainstream media, but we don't have the sales team to monetize it. You do. You don't know how to do it, and so you leave it alone. Sorry, Joey.
Yeah. The classic that I had was like, oh well, we don't know what your content's about, and you haven't got that many viewers. And then when we did have like a big uptick of viewers just in the last couple of months, they turn around and go, you've got too much content and we don't know what to do with it.
I got told that last week by a mainstream media group. I got told last week we're producing too much content for them. Because see, what happens then is they lose creative control. They lose, and there used to be this thing in radio in general, which was content is king. What you'd hear all over the place, content is king. And in case any of you young fellas out there are ever getting into the media, don't believe that. It's bullshit. What people are saying is our content is king. So what they're saying is our content is king. If you've got content, then you're a competitor no matter what. Again, can I just be really clear? We've actually moved away from the strikes now on copyright because I don't think TVNZ considers like us competition whatsoever. But some of the other ones want to get funded for their models that then they can drive into their business. So their content is king. Our content might be able to play well on their source, but they don't want to have to pay for it, and they don't want to support us getting funding for it because that's funding that they can't then get for themselves. So we weren't big enough, and then we kind of became too prolific. Same organisation, not TVNZ, different one. Just so you're clear. Go, Chewy.
Yes. Well, it's been a fun and educational and not at all frustrating weekend to have this happen so close to the finish line that Pat and I discussed almost 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be great to spin up just a lefty news commentary, shit talking extravaganza, and then we'll peak right at the election. I've had so many people that have spoken to me about this going, man, this is refreshing because you're honest about where you stand. And I think that's something that, let's just say legacy media gets wrong, right? Is that they put on the pretense of we are right in the middle, we are completely unbiased. And we see, we've made comment on it about various commentators and shows and that sort of thing, that they all have their bias, but they pretend that they don't. And it's fine to have bias. Everybody has a bias. But if you pair that bias up with honesty, like intellectual honesty, then that's fine. You know what you're getting. You get people coming back. We've got all of you fine folks that keep on coming back night after night, 4 nights a week, like insane people.
Yeah.
Here to see the more insane people that are spinning up the show every week.
This is how insane. This is how insane you are. There are still fucking 11 people watching us on YouTube which is just a static image
Just a
saying we're
still
not on
image.
YouTube tonight. That's
Like,
how insane you
up
people
against
are.
the glass going, you guys in there? I can hear you. I can't see you moving around.
Hey, look, there's something else that I'm not going to talk about tonight, but probably next week, and it's the future of BHN. There's some things on the boil at the moment about what we can and can't do, and I'm not saying this TVNZ thing has tipped us over the point one way or the other, but the reality is we need to figure out how to do this in a more professional, funded way, or need to move on, because I can't keep working full time for no money. Basically, I think I've just kind of told you the news, but we will get into more detail about it next week, because this week we just want to focus on the election, and I think we can probably start, can't we, Joe?
Yeah, go on. I just realised I've done a comment on as you on like three different platforms. Yes, there was a question about whether my lighting was a hint on my voting preference.
Yes,
and I couldn't possibly say.
I voted.
No
I voted in the
stickers this year. What a rip.
Exactly. Can I just say one other thing as well?
We used to be a country, Pat.
Country. I want to get our voting stickers back. That's what should be the election promise. Down below the screen right now, if you're watching, if you're listening to this, you've already done it. But as the audio, a reminder about the audio podcast. The other thing this has done for us is this has dropped us out of the top 10 of the news commentary, which we're sitting up between the top 2 or 3 for quite a long time. Number 1 for a good portion. I'd like everybody, if you had the time, the inclination, to jump on, especially Apple Podcast, and subscribe to the podcast. Just look up #BHN or Big Hairy News. And tomorrow, spend 10 minutes listening back to some of the show. You know, if you have to cut out early tonight because, you know, this will be a 5-hour show, I'm thinking, then get the end of it as an audio podcast. Because we missed one last night, because we're daily, that's the way we stay up there. We've dropped down a bit. It would be really useful coming into this end of this last week to get back and stay up at number 1 or 2. Mm-hmm. So if you would, one way you can support us is to get onto Apple Podcasts, subscribe to the podcast, rate it and review it, and have a good listen over the next few days to the previous night's episode. 5, 10, 15 minutes, the whole show again, whatever you want to do. And that will, like at the end of this week, that will help me go to some of the groups and say, hey, we're the number 1 news commentary podcast in the country. I know it's election night. Can you get us politician XYZ? Please. Can you get us politician XYZ? So that's up to you guys, right? #BHN on Apple Podcasts. Listen to them over the next few days. Help us get back up to number 1. And then we'll potentially have some more gravitas to get some people maybe on Saturday night. Should we be here? Which I think we're going to be here, but should we be here?
Hey, Pat,
I heard a breath in, Chewy, like you're going to say something.
You know how I was just talking about the election stickers, the I voted stickers?
Yeah, yep.
Have you seen the alternatives?
I have not. Oh, is it like the laser kiwi? Have we got a laser kiwi one or something?
Oh, in a way, anybody watching the show with kids, avert their eyes now. There we go.
Oh.
We all knew that orange man had a private adults only side.
Is that our friend? It says Kooky Draws Things. Is that our friend Kooky?
No, different Kooky. But the person that mocked these up had such demand that they have physically made them, and I believe are selling them at Armageddon.
Oh, very cool. I like those a lot. All right, we should try and contact them, see if we can get some as well. Hey, now tonight's show is going to be us bleating and moaning. No, it's not really. We're going to cover off a couple of things from last night. I haven't spent a lot of time looking at the news today because I've been talking to Jakarta, YouTube, and TVNZ, and people. But there's a couple of things that we do want to touch on from last night. Covering Israel stuff. We are going to look at that at some stage, probably not in great detail tonight. I mean, needless to say, there are no winners in this at all. Needless to say that anyone attributing the blame to one side wholeheartedly is wrong. Needless to say that on both sides, innocent people dying in warfare is a war crime. And I don't know how to approach that issue without alienating half of the world on some level, Chewy.
I have literally been chewing this over and consuming so many takes and so much information about what's going on over there, that as close as I can get to that is everyone involved in this conflict is an asshole.
Yeah.
In one way or another. Nobody's like, and like, maybe this is specific to Twitter, but I have seen some of the most blatant disinformation, fake videos, links, tribalized analysis that I have seen. It is a minefield to try and get a sense of what is going on here. And I think you've got Hamas, which might have a legitimate reason for doing what it's doing.
Well, hang on. No. We can't. I don't think we can say that. A legitimate reason for doing what they're doing. They went into a music festival and assassinated young people. There's no legitimate reason for that. But we can say people of Palestine have a legitimate grievance, 100%. For having war crimes committed against them continuously. A response of landing in a music festival and assassinating young people is you have no legitimate reason for that. I'm sorry.
And that was the thing, right? I got to that story and I went, oh no, get fucked, and then there was more after that, and then that is going to lead to Israel's traditional massive overreaction.
Israel is currently flattening buildings with human beings and innocent civilians in them as well. Yeah. This is horrific on both sides. There's not really a way to address this other than, and I'm not both sidesing the issue. Oh, you're fucking both sidesing the issue. Actually, you know what? Hamas should not be going into a music festival, flying in, assassinating young people and kidnapping innocent people in that. If this is a like, I thought about this the other day, and you have to forgive me, Chewy, I'm not as up to play with it as perhaps I should be. But if Hamas had set up rockets and all those things and actually literally fired them at the wall and taken the walls down from around, if that's even possible, I don't know, that would be one thing. To fly into a bunch of 18 to 22-year-olds and assassinate them on the ground, there's you can't do it. Equally, if Israel's cut off water and electricity and food to Gaza Strip, war crime. Israel is dropping bombs. We've all seen them on apartment buildings collapsing. War crime. So, and I'm not going to say, well, they started it, because that's how it just goes on and on and on and on forever. I side. I feel more drawn to siding with the grievances of those Palestinians, right? I do not support or side with the reaction of Hamas going and killing innocent people, but the grievances,
much more eloquent than I.
but the grievances of being forced back further and further and further from the land which is now being occupied illegally into an area like rats, and then having your water and power and stuff cut off. I side with your grievance. I detest and I'm repulsed by your reaction, focusing on innocent civilians. So if you call that both sidesing it, and I'm not strong enough for one side or the other, so be it. But that's where I am, because there are no heroes in this situation. There are villains on both sides.
Yeah, very, very, like, almost cartoonishly evil villains, and it just makes me want to run back to the Ukraine conflict, which is just very clearly to me good guy versus bad guy, much more clean cut. But yeah, if people could stop murdering civilians, that'd be fucking great.
I don't laugh because it was lighthearted. Jesus. It's like, it's the most obvious thing. Like, if Hamas had some kind of attack on the Israeli military, you'd probably find a little bit more empathy in me saying maybe that would be a response. But no, you're never going to get me on side landing your things in a music festival. Even going into people's houses in houses where they shouldn't be living, because Israel is pushed into areas that are illegal occupation, but the families living there aren't the people who have done that. The families living there are the people who have been put in houses there, or given houses there, or sold houses there. The battle is between the governments, right? But it's always the innocents that pay the fucking price, and they pay it in blood, and it's not okay on both sides. Yes, I am saying on both sides. I more comfortably side with the grievances of the Palestinians. I do not support the actions of innocent lives anywhere being taken and claiming it's a response to military action. I do not, and I will not. Anyway, yes.
Well said,
so
Pat.
So no, we're
And
not going to
thank
talk
you for
about.
saving me.
We're not going to talk
walking
about
into
Israel
that.
tonight. Sorry, again, not a flippant laugh. Not a flippant laugh.
I think you have done a better job than many commentators that I have seen today. So,
Oh, maybe we should get a call from some of those mainstream medias to comment on them, shall we? Hey, there's really one little story. There's two little stories I want to show from tonight because, Chewy, I've had a bit of a splurge, and I know this will make your blood boil. Let's just go to see about how the National Party is going to make millionaires out of some landlords, shall we?
Henrietta Bollinger writes and fights for the disabled
I forgot to mention,
community, especially those
and they're going to take the money from disabled New Zealanders.
Deserve the dignity and respect of getting their needs met.
But they're worried about what's going to happen under National as the party is proposing to tie benefits to inflation rather than wage increases. A Council of Trade Unions analysis has found beneficiaries will be $17,000 worse off after 5 years of that
17
change.
grand.
It's
Council of Trade Union are doing God's work. No other way to say it.
It's expected to save National $2 billion over the next 5 years, coincidentally the same amount the party's budgeted for a tax cut for landlords by rent.
So make that clear. They're saving $2 billion by paying disabled people proportionally less, and they're giving a $2 billion tax cut to landlords.
Introducing interest deductibility rules.
Who's better off under your plan, landlords or beneficiaries?
Tenants are better off under our plan. Working people are better off
That's
under
not
our
the
plan.
question.
All
Landlords
New
or
Zealanders.
beneficiaries?
I reject your binary.
The CTU has also found that mega landlords are going to make mega bucks from the Nats tax plan. In 2021, data showed there were 346 landlords who owned at least 200 properties each. The CTU analysis shows those landlords are in for an average tax cut of $1.3 million each over 5
So sorry, how can you not argue now a would-be national government is taking money from disabled New Zealanders and giving it to wealthy landlords? How can you challenge that? How can you challenge that? Like how? I'm going to finish the story, Chewy, because I can see you about to explode, but I figure once I let you go, I'm not going to pull you back in again. So let's get the story done first.
5 years, the total going to that group, $464 million.
Only $500 million.
There's no benefit to giving millions of dollars to already wealthy landlords and taking it from disabled people, from single mums and from others who desperately need every dollar they can get.
Those
Needs
donations
cost of
need to go
living
back.
support more, beneficiaries or landlords?
Beneficiaries will get cost of living help when their rents are lower.
But Willis admitting
rents
today
are
that
going
the tax
down.
cuts wouldn't
Rents are gonna be
lower
lower.
rents,
Okay.
just ease the increase.
Correct, it will slow the increase, it will put downward pressure.
The fight over fiscals is still fizzling along, with both sides rewriting each other's budgets today. Labor claiming National will cut deeper.
That is completely wrong. They are recycling more of the same rubbish.
National claiming Labor's free dental vow is not what it seems.
Making health and dental care cheaper.
It actually only covers basic dental treatment.
Chris Hipkins, frankly, he's the Prime Minister, but he's actually the prime misinformer.
We've been very clear that that's free basic dental care.
And in a bizarre turn of events, one of the leaders presiding over this profound policy debate has been forced to clarify his position on dinosaurs.
Do you believe dinosaurs roamed the earth?
Sorry?
It's not the first time he's been asked that question.
I heard a rumour that you don't believe in dinosaurs.
No, T-Rex, great dinosaur.
Do you believe dinosaurs are real?
But it's the first time he's properly answered it.
Do you believe dinosaurs roamed the earth?
Absolutely. What kind of question is that, mate?
We've reached a point in the campaign where neither side is talking about their own policy anymore, instead firing off daily attacks about their nemesis' numbers. Hardly edifying politics. We'll see what the public thinks about it in 4 days' time. Jenna Lynch, News Hub.
There you go, Chewy. And you ready? The explosion can happen in 3, 2, 1, go, sir.
The dinosaur thing is hilarious. You know where that's coming from, right?
Yeah, but let's not get sidetracked with that at the moment.
Oh, but it's dinosaurs. What was your favorite dinosaur being a kid?
It's probably the T-Rex. It's a bit boring, isn't it? I mean, like 1990,
Well,
I was still a young fellow in
it's
1990.
ruined now because it's
And I think
Luxon's
the
favorite dinosaur.
Velociraptor from 1990 from the, was it 1990 that Jurassic Park came out? The Velociraptor was probably got put up high then.
A Velociraptor was the size of a chicken, mate. You can do better than that. Mine was the Ankylosaurus.
Oh, why is that?
Yes. Anyway, landlords getting money meant for disabled people. That's actually fine, Pat. I'm fine with that.
Oh, okay. I thought you'd explode.
Oh, hang on. No, I'm not. I can solve this. Look, I've already used the term cartoonishly evil tonight. I'm going to use it again. How cartoonishly evil can National be? To actually, like, if I was doing their policy, and I had on my spreadsheet of we're going to give X amount of money to mega landlords, and we're going to take X amount of money away from beneficiaries and the disabled, I would do everything to make sure that those two numbers weren't even fucking close to each other. Because if you can just draw a straight line and go, oh, there's 2 point something billion dollars coming out of that column and going into this one, it's like, what the fuck? We're defunding orphanages, and then we're putting it in the fund to gold plate swimming pools. People won't connect those dots. It's fine.
Yeah.
What a pack of pricks. And Nicola Willis exactly knows what is being asked of her. It is a very straightforward question. Everybody can see the answer. Just unbelievable. And we know it's so close to the election that this stuff is not going to move the dial very much. This is the stuff, this is why they sat on these policies for so long. And as you said, the CTU's doing God's work. No other motherfucker is. Why are we finding this out, 4 or 5 days out from the election? Why did we not know this 4 weeks ago? I noticed here locally, and I'm sure it's the same, the national billboards have got a snazzy new addition, an orange sticker right across them that says tax relief for New Zealanders. I wonder if that was rushed out or whether that was planned.
Yeah.
Like, it's so disheartening that this is the best that they can do.
Yeah.
To be cartoonishly evil.
Speaking of again, yeah. Hey, look, also just let the chat know, a certain individual whose initials are K and R has been gone. I've just got rid of him. So that's what I was doing when I was looking away, getting rid of a certain individual there. So there you go.
I noticed he was a little bit out the gate since we don't have our normal moderation tools.
Yeah, so he is now. He may come back on Facebook, and if he does, I might kick him out of there as well. The second little story I wanted to show very quickly is actually a screenshot from a story tonight. Sad news about the ACT candidate dying, like genuinely for his family and stuff. But a piece of gold came out of a news story tonight talking about the by-election date, and I've just taken a screenshot of it to show you what it was. See if you can pick up why I like this screenshot of David Seymour. Do you think why that was on the news tonight? Do you see why I like that screenshot? Does it jump out to you at all?
I don't know. I might need to look on it a little bit longer.
This little bit up here. That whilst he was talking, it just I'll just show you in silent. It just look. This is the man. Look, it's just in the background, just sitting there a little bit, and yeah, there you go. Democracy in action. That's what they say.
People have spoken.
The people.
Good on Christchurch. I don't often say that very often, but Christchurch really made it difficult for David today.
Let's have a look at some other news. I have so many tabs open. I need to figure shit out. Actually, let's have a look. This is from the weekend, and I'm sorry it's from the weekend, but we would have shared this with you last night. But we'll share it with you tonight. Winston Peters came up in conversation on News Hub Nation. Some interesting conversation. Guy and Espiner was on there as well with fucking Ruth Richardson. Oh my God. I'd talk about the ghost stuff.
Let's talk about that.
Oh my God. And
getting Ruth Richardson out of her fucking sarcophagus.
So
having
let's
to
have
disconnect all the pipes of orphan blood that keep her alive.
Let's have a look at some of the commentary. Guy and Espiner and Andrea Vance were talking about ACT's performance, and I'm actually not going to play Ruth Richardson's bit because it was too much for me. I'm protecting you from the first part.
My head will explode.
I want to
Guy and Espiner and Andrea Vance talking about ACT's performance at the moment, going down in the polls.
It looks like he's deflating at the moment. That David Seymour has not peaked at the right time in this election campaign. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think him and Winston Peters are fighting over the same.
Can I say the looking sharp, like the swish back? It's it's not. I like it.
Ground in some aspects, probably over the co-governance issue, probably in the most respect. And no matter what you think of Winston Peters, his timing is incredible, and he has always managed that well coming into election campaigns. And I think David Seymour has peaked a little early, and you see him drifting down and New Zealand First eating into his vote.
Yeah, he's looked actually. I suppose there's a lot more pressure associated with this election for David Seymour as well. He's used to being the sort of the underdog and scrapping up from that 1%. It's a very different position that he's in now, Andrea, trying to hold that vote, perhaps grow it. He doesn't want to lose anything. He can't afford to lose anything.
Yeah, I think the problem for ACT and David Seymour is they've had, he's spent 10 years rebuilding that party and he's done a phenomenal job. Up until 2 months ago, I would have said he was the superstar of this election campaign. However, I think the problem is that, well, two things actually. Christopher Luxon has managed to boost Winston's popularity and the whole campaign has given him oxygen. But also, I think ACT's policies have come under more scrutiny now because previously he could say whatever he wanted because he hadn't really got a sniff of being in government. But the more that people look under the hood of what they're promising and what a national ACT government might look like, then
I think you see a policy like taking 15,000 public servants out, and while you might agree on paper with that, I think for a lot of people that feels very brutal. And when you see that sort of policy illustrated and out in the open, some people are put off.
I've got to, I cut her. See that, how I cut her? I cut her so quick. It's so quick because I had to, because I wasn't going to do it. Good analysis. And yes, it's been very interesting to see. I'm sure we'll get a poll or two out this week that ACT really, the idea that Winston has perfect timing. I don't know whether it was planned and we can give him credit for that or it was just by coincidence, but perfect timing, and ACT the opposite. ACT is really dropping away and Winston seems to be siphoning them up. So it'll be, gosh, okay, I'll say something publicly. I don't know if this will happen or not, but imagine if ACT, if Winston got more votes than ACT, gosh, what would happen then?
Well, I mentioned a little bit about this on Twitter and various other platforms. Remember that Luxon is a complete amateur. He hasn't been doing this very long. He's a CEO. He's a middle manager. He is politically inexperienced. And when people say, better to have a doer than a politician is really good at doing politician things, which is kind of like reading the tea leaves a little bit and knowing that Winston Peters is someone that if you don't want him in the room, you need to shut the fucking door.
Yeah.
That
comes up.
Why?
That comes up. We look at that as well. Like, why didn't they cut him out?
Yeah, Luxon has been so confident in his ability, and I think most people would go, Nationals had a pretty strong road to being the government just because people need a change.
Yeah.
In this case, the change is a brick to the face, but change nonetheless. But by not even believing in his own numbers and hype, he wouldn't rule him out. He wouldn't give ACT that was trending upwards all along. He wouldn't give his trust to ACT to be enough to keep Labour out.
Because if he had done that, if he had gone, we will not work with Winston, then all those people going to Winston now because they see weakness in Seymour would not be going to Winston.
Imagine that statement though. No, we will not be going with Winston Peters. We've seen what he's talking about, and he brings nothing of value to the table. End of discussion. Moving on.
That's it. Yep. And moving on. Hey, can I say as well, it's fascinating to see so many people in Twitch, actually. Maybe we should just become a Twitch show. Normally we have one person watching us in Twitch, and this is cool. If we tell you to go there, because we've got the same sort of numbers watching live right now as we've had for the last couple of weeks. So... Good on you. All right.
I have to practice my 360 no scopes.
Yeah, whatever that means. I've watched David Packman a few times on Twitch, and he knows all the lingo. I don't know it. You know, I'm not even going to try, but it sounds like you use phrasing like the train is coming, and there are various, like, you can build things up, and I don't know. Okay, I'm sorry you are going to hear a little bit from that sarcophagus in this clip because I couldn't quite avoid it. But Andrea Vance on Acts of God, basically. Andrea Vance talking about what will happen in the future if we strip out the back rooms, if there's a cyclone. How does that then work? It's a very good sort of a question to ask.
No, I was just actually thinking on the cyclone. You know, I wonder what would happen if we do have a national ACT government and there are those considerable cuts to public services. I just wonder how the public service would stand up then. It's already been gutted. It's full of consultants. There's no institutional memory there or capability. And so I just wonder if they have 6.5% cuts off the baselines on top of the 2% that Labour's already put in there, how would they manage?
Come on,
Ruth looks like she's got an idea.
We are not getting bang for buck. Not only do we have a problem with the quantity of public spending, it's the quality. It's woeful. Do not equate more public servants with better public delivery.
Okay. Look, I'll accept that, right? As long as you also accept, do not equate fewer public servants with better outcomes. This is what we've always said. We've always said this. The answer is not smaller government is better. The answer is not bigger government is better. The answer is better government is better. So Ruth, baby, I'll happily take your position on board as long as you equal and opposite that, right? Bigger government doesn't mean better. More public servants doesn't mean better outcomes. Equally, fewer public servants doesn't mean better outcomes. So you got to have both sides on that, both sides. The last little clip I'm going to play for you here. It's only 70 seconds. What do you think about Luxon now needing Peters? Is the question that was asked of the guests.
Ian? Strategic ineptness, I think. They have not put any good quality thought into how they're strategically going to form a government. They ruled out the Māori Party very early. I think that the second leg of that was to rule Winston Peters out earlier. They couldn't quite make their mind up, weren't courageous enough to do that. They hoped the problem would go away. Sort of had this pantomime problem. Oh, look, he's behind you. No, he's not. He's not actually there. And he starts creeping up. And now they're saying, oh, well, I would make the phone call to him. And I think that, as you said before, that allowed him to start to surge, and now they're saying, but we really don't want to work to him. So what is the actual message here? So strategically, there was no effort to possibly get Top in, no outreach to the Greens. Now, Key had an MOU with the Greens, you might remember, and he also had Te Pāti Māori too. So where was that work done early? They've banked on their strategy to put all their eggs in the ACT National basket. They haven't done any outreach to those other parties, and now they look like they're beholden to Winston Peters.
It's their biggest strategic mistake, isn't it? And
I think they've stored themselves up problems for the future now with the messaging that they've been delivering this week. I mean, Christopher Luxon's been, you know, pretty disparaging of Winston Peters. And as we all know, as successive coalition negotiations have taught us, the one thing that Winston will demand is that you treat him with respect and courtesy. And I don't think they've been doing that. And it's the same problems that landed them out of office in 2017.
So exactly that. We've been saying this. I mean, she's much more polite. I've been saying Winston Peters is a vindictive old bastard. And if you cross him, he will make you pay. That's how she's saying you've got to treat him with respect. Interesting points, Joey. But Guyan saying strategical error, as you've been saying, as we've all been saying, not to rule out Winston much earlier.
It is literally a rookie move. And now they're panicking. Like, if you see the National Party comms at the moment, it is absolutely hammering the point. You've got to vote for National. You've got to vote for National. If you really want Winston out, you've got to vote for National. And that only works if the people that you're talking to agree with your position. But if they're a bunch of righties, just like I'm a lefty going, the Labour Party is not left enough for me, my counterparts on the other side are going, National's not far enough right for me. ACT is tanking. So I'm going to give the vote to the guys talking to the anti-vaxxers and the people that are worried that the transgender people are coming down the chimney to grab the children and just absolute fucking nut bars. you know, and this is their danger. Like, I hate David Seymour. I hate the people that he's talking to, but who Winston's going after at the moment makes ACT supporters seem like a sound, reasoned bunch.
Yeah,
you know, it's bad, man, and it. Winston will use Luxon like a finger puppet, and I want you to hold that image in your mind. Just hold it until you feel the blood coming out your ears. It's gross. He's bad at it. He's bad, and all of this seems very bad. I want to give the people a palate cleanser.
Well, can I ask you a question
it's
first
not
of all?
the
That's come
sexy
from the
orange
chat?
bit. You can ask. You can ask a question. Yes.
Okay. What's happening to Luxon getting rolled as the next leader? Gareth's got a long
lose
memory.
that fucking bet. God damn it.
Yeah. So
you got a good memory, Gareth. I hate you for it, but you've got a good memory. Look, if you're going to roll out Ruth fucking Richardson, which is her middle name, you can look that up. That you cannot bring her in without reciting the damage she did to this country.
Ruthonomics.
That we are still dealing with. It was called Ruthanasia. That was the name of her budget, the mother of all budget. The damage that did to this country that we are still dealing with now, the way that beneficiaries were spoken of and treated, the very real damage that it did to families. Ruth Palpatine Richardson. Yes, I love that. How she can be brought on as anyone but an expert of the best way to put a puppy in a mincer. Like, I'm pretty sure she does that recreationally. Like, oh God, I dread when she dies, and there'll be that usual sanitization of this person that has done big things in New Zealand.
Right.
Like, I want it to be our equivalent of the way that they talked about what was her name? The British Prime Minister.
Theresa May?
No,
Margaret Thatcher?
older. Margaret Thatcher. You know, the problem with pissing on Margaret Thatcher's grave is eventually you run out of piss.
Do you know what happened when Margaret Thatcher died? It was the first time ever the BBC and their Top of the Pops show wouldn't play the #1 song in the country, because when Margaret Thatcher died,
I know what it was.
It was Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead from The Wizard of Oz. It got to #1 in the charts, and it was the first time ever that the BBC wouldn't play what the #1 song was in its entirety, because the #1 song in the world, in the UK, when Thatcher died, was Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead. I don't know who got the rights for that and who made the money off that, but they sent it to #1.
Yeah. Look, I want to be really clear about, like, Ruth Richardson was part of the problem, right? The problem that she exacerbated, that she played into, was something that we are still dealing with now, and it's the idea of neoliberalism. It is fucking bullshit. It has been proven not to work. It's been proven to be a cruel, unwieldy system. And we keep on playing into it as long as we vote for parties that are still playing by that disproven rule book. And Ruth Richardson is part of the TPU. She's a cheerleader for the ACT Party. And it was Roger Douglas that set it all up. So there is a straight line to hell for that woman. All
right, I'd like to get on with another story. Can I do that? The next story you'll enjoy, I promise.
Okay.
Because it's okay. I'm gonna actually blow our own little horn a little bit, just a little bit for the next one. So RNZ, in their story over the weekend on Media Watch, was saying that the media is shifting blame for misleading tax policy headlines. Who do you think they're shifting the blame to, Chewy?
Is it us?
They're shifting the blame to the National Party for not being clear. However, very, very, very little introspection is going on as to how they actually magnified and amplified those national talking points with no criticism whatsoever. Let's have a listen to Colin Peacock over the weekend in Media Watch.
Nevertheless, TVNZ's political editor Jessica Much Mackay said back then the Nationals' Big Bang tax announcement was a good political move. Senior political correspondent Tova O'Brien said that National's finance spokesperson Nicola Willis should get a standing ovation for it. And Newshub's political editor Jenna Lynch told her viewers this.
This is a masterclass in political marketing.
Now, just so we're clear, we're talking about...
Flammery.
Just so we're clear, I'm sure people are aware, but in case you're not, we're talking about a month and a bit ago when National relieved their tax policy. This is what we're talking about.
National has taken what is, in reality, a $25 a week tax cut from
So this is the mainstream media's coverage of when that tax release came out.
most middle earners, doubled it into a couple, doubled it into a fortnight, slapped their childcare subsidy in there, and all of a sudden they have a $250 figure to slap all over the billboards.
And as we've just heard, the media slapped it all over their headlines as well.
Yep.
And when the first TVNZ Leaders debate aired in mid-September, Deputy Political Editor Mikey Sherman dropped National's preferred figure into her analysis like this.
He didn't hit back, and he didn't kind of tack on other policies that Labor is promising that could beef up that whole package for families, like National has done with its $250 a fortnight package for those squeezed middle that they're talking about.
So the commentary goes on, right? And they start talking about this conversation that happened and how National came out with their policy. And of course, I'm gonna play you what we said about it 24 hours after it was released. Remember us little pissants who don't know what we're doing at the bottom of the South Island, us little guys who don't have the same sort of funding or access that these mainstream media guys do. But what happened when it was released, you've just heard, they were all like, this is genius, this is amazing, $250 a week to the average family. Well, when the CTU last week released the numbers around 3,000 households, all of a sudden the mainstream media started going, why weren't you giving us the correct information, National? That's your job, journalist, to dig, as opposed to just amplify National Party talking points without criticism. So the conversation goes on Media Watch. It comes out that there's only 3,000 households, right? And a lot about the up to $250, which the mainstream media ignored for weeks. Mm-hmm. And that childcare rebates are only from 2 to 5. That was we actually released that, because when the CTU came out, they just said cut childcare. Remember, we last week reminded you that it's pre-primary school childcare. Even the CTU doing God's work didn't say that in their analysis. They just said childcare. So all this is becoming aware now. Fucking Chris Hipkins himself came out and said, we found out today that a month after so Labor didn't do the numbers, the media didn't do the numbers, and now the media is blaming National for not giving them all the information to put in their fucking headlines. Because what the media does is they get National's talking points, and I suppose probably Labor's talking points, and they just print that as the headline. Mainstream media don't go any deeper at all, and then when it gets proven that they didn't give us good information, they try and blame National for that. It's National's fault that we didn't dig any deeper.
Newshub political reporter Amelia Wade seized on those CTU figures when they came out this week, and she was clearly frustrated when trying to confirm the 3,000 households claim with the National Party.
We sent the Council of Trade Unions numbers and workings in my story there to the National Party today in good faith so that they had adequate time to respond. But instead of responding, they fired off a conspiratorial PR trying to pin that on the Labor Party.
And when Nicola Willis did finally confirm the figure the next day on RNZ's Morning Report with Charlotte Cook, she said that the National Party had been careful to say all along households would get up to $250 a fortnight, but not careful enough for News Talk ZB News later that same day.
Luxon denies he's being disingenuous.
We've always said, look, up to $250.
But he hasn't always said that. Here's Luxon in the first TVNZ Leaders debate where he didn't use the words up to.
I'm going to give them tax relief. For an average household income family with young kids, that would mean $250 a fortnight, and that would make a huge difference to them.
So, but this is the point, and it'll keep going in this conversation. The media is now jumping on National for not saying up to, yet they're the ones that were amplifying the headlines, which I'll show you shortly, not saying up to. We told you the day of it was up to. Mainstream media didn't. And now they're crying foul at National for misleading them. We found it. We read it. We saw it. They didn't. They get paid to be journalists. We do this as a joke. Hey, Chewy. This is just a jape for us. They get paid to do it, and they didn't read it properly. We did, and we'll show you shortly.
And on News Hub at 6 that same night, political editor Jenna Lynch wasn't satisfied either.
We've always said, look, up to $250 a week for an average household income with young children.
Except they haven't always.
It does give an average income household family with young kids $250 extra a fortnight.
On Thursday, Jenna Lynch went on to say this.
Yeah, effectively what they were doing with all of that up to 250 is like an old retail technique, having an up to 80% off sale and then only having one item in the store worth that. The
Why didn't you say that when they said it back then, Jenna Lynch, and all the other mainstream
rest
media?
of the store is only 10% off.
Though that was a bit of a crude comparison, and National's tax calculator would show that other families could still get substantial benefit, if not the maximum. But while she was at it, Jenna Lynch also pointed out that online calculator didn't specify that the childcare rebate only applied to early childhood education costs for under 5-year-olds, and the National Party then amended their tax calculator after she pointed that out. So good for voters and viewers to have more clarity and accuracy on that. But 1 month on from the launch of National's tax cut policy, Jenna Lynch was clearly no longer as impressed with what she had deemed a political marketing masterstroke when it was first unveiled.
$20 just isn't enough to buy a vote in this economy. All of the focus groups say so, but $250, that is massive money. Genius.
Reflecting on all this on News Talk ZB last Thursday, the network's political editor Jason Walls said that the moral of the story for us was voter beware.
On the one hand, yes, obviously this is a trick of marketing. You say up to, and
or you don't say it.
People have to work it out themselves. Yes, there is this 0.18, which is really small. I mean, you would have thought it would have been a...
Remember, that's our number. We said that first, 0.15.
Yep.
We were the first to say that. Just remember that.
Bit bigger, but people do have a bit of a responsibility to work this out by themselves. You can't just rely on seeing an ad and being like, oh, that's probably me, I'm going to get the $250.
And voters should indeed be wary when political parties are presenting their policy the way they want it. But many people heard those favourable figures and the impression that average families would benefit, not from the National Party, but from the media, repeating their words and numbers uncritically. And, as we've heard, also from political editors who praised the party for putting the numbers and words together like that before running the numbers themselves.
There you go. So the media is going, hey, National, why didn't you tell us the truth? Rather than going, oh, shit, we dropped the ball. Now, I am slapping us on the back a little bit for this. Media is because I want to show you. Now, that policy was released on a Sunday. This is a short clip. It's been up on my Twitter for a few days of how we reported it on the Monday, right? Remember us who do journalism as a joke? That should be our new tagline, journalism as a joke. This is how we reported it. Remember, they don't talk about up to at all, right? And they sell the narrative of $250 a fortnight. That's what the mainstream media did for weeks until this week, until 6 weeks after the policy was released. This is us the day after.
Would get a $250 increase per fortnight.
Okay, so I'm furious that the mainstream media is selling National Party talking points.
Yep.
The mainstream media, it's funny, because that's sort of what Colin Peacock was just saying, how what they've been doing, and now they're grumpy about it. Well, this was 24 hours later for us. Yeah, is talking about what you're getting a fortnight. Now, let's be very clear. What this has done, right? This has gone a working couple at $50 a week, which is hard to get to actually. It's more like 40, right? As Nicola Willis tells us later on, it's $40 a week. So a working couple at $40 a week, add in there some new tax credits, because if you've got kids, get to $125, double it, and say, look, it's $250 a fortnight. The minimum wage people, which we'll see at the moment, are getting $20 a fortnight. Why is the media not saying it's $10 a week? Why is the media picking up on the National Party narrative and helping them make it sound better than it is? TVNZ did it and TV3 did it. They did the fortnight thing. So National's being very clever here. They've taken all of their amounts, they've doubled them to make them look more impressive, and then they said a fortnight. I don't know why the fuck they didn't say $500 a month. That would have been even better still, but they decided fortnight is the way to go. And I'm ropeable with the mainstream media that they're just helping the National Party further this conversation, which may be accurate, but they're using some very clever narratives to make it look more impressive than it really is. Remember, be aware though, and we can see this later on in some stuff I show you, they're saying up to $250. That doesn't come out very much in the mainstream media either.
That's an old marketing trick, that is.
Yeah, of course. Based
Save
on
up
a
to.
true story. So think about it this way. That superannuitant couple, that's $26 a fortnight. That's for two people. That's $13 a week. That's $6.50 per person per week. So National's done well in their positioning by saying it's $26 a fortnight. If I was to say it's $6.50 per person per week, you'd be like, well, that's fucking nothing. Who cares about that? And I'm annoyed that no one's really, well, I can't say no one. I haven't seen anyone pointing it out yet. Retirees, you're getting $6 each a week. Yet mainstream media is just picking up and running with how National has sold this. So they're helping their narrative. I'm not saying it's inaccurate. I'm just saying they're helping them make it sound more impressive and larger than it really is. So there you go, Chewy. RNZ does a story this week. The media wants to blame other people for their mistakes. And us guys who do journalism as a joke end up the ones who have been doing this the whole time almost, bar anyone else. There's been the odd one here or there. I remember there was literally one AM show that had in very small print up to. I can remember we covered that. But the media hasn't serviced the public well. The CTU did the numbers. Labor hasn't supported the public well. So basically, this is going to sound really arrogant. The CTU have been doing Labor's job and we've been doing the fucking mainstream media's job, Chewy. Why? Yeah. What's the case? What's going on?
Like, we've come out of 3, almost 4 years of lots of people going, we don't know why people don't trust the media.
Yeah.
What an excellent time for people to prove why it's the fourth estate. I would expect every time any political party hands out policy to the media that it is then thrown to a pack of wolves who only get paid when they find the lie. And then the news cycle for the next week is, this is the lie we were told. And then what happens there is the political parties go, we don't like this whole wolves eating lies thing, and then we get our shit run on the news for a week. So what we're going to stop doing is telling lies. Like, National has been very clear, ACT has been very clear that they're all about holding the government to account. That is what the media is supposed to do. They're supposed to hold everyone to account, filter out very dense packets of information, and as you said, feed the baby birds, the idiot voters with the pertinent facts. And they haven't done that. And the party that's supposed to be defending their position as the government has not been defending their position very well. And the party that wants to be the government has not been proving their case very well.
No.
Everybody in this should be fucking ashamed of themselves. Like, it's laughable. How big is our pool of hungry lie hunting wolves, Pat? How many do we have? Like, it's you.
Yeah.
And the resources that we can put into that.
So the resources that we've got, and this is what I've been thinking about over the last few days. Realistically, looking at the money it would cost to run what we do, just me and Chewy, this is a $300,000 operation. That's what it would cost to run this full time for me and Chewy, just two of us. Realistically, what we're doing with two other staff is a $500,000 operation. I worked out today that between beautiful Patreons, right, which I love to bits, and this is not a pitch for anything, I'm just telling you guys, and also some merch that we've done, we've probably taken in about $8,000 over 12 months, of which has probably cost me about $10,000 to $15,000 to run this. So our wolves are probably over 12 months, our wolves are probably negative $3,000 to $7,000. And that doesn't actually include my time, Chewy. Like, if I put my time into it, there'd be a full-time wage on top of that as well. So our wolves are negative $5,000 to $7,000. And for some reason, and look, I don't care if people think we're blowing smoke up our own ass, we seem to be doing the right thing. The mainstream media, to end the story, are saying things like this. This is the day after the tax cuts were announced. Families in line for $250 a fortnight under national tax cuts. That's what the press said. Interest.co.nz. National promises $250 more a fortnight for average households. The Herald said, national tax plan offers an average household with kids $250 and Kiwi worker $50 a fortnight. Literally, just the
BHN
headlines.
commentator coins the phrase flimflammery.
BHN says, I'm fucking furious at the mainstream media for not telling people what's really going on the day after it was released. And then we tell you.
I can solve this, right? Can solve this. No more political polls. No more political polls for media commentators. And let's be generous, 6 months before an election. No more polls. No more easy stories. No more breathless 3D graphics of how many seats in the House while they stand in front of a blue screen. I want to see a frazzled Jessica Mutch Mackay sitting at her desk, surrounded with paper and an old-fashioned calculator spitting out a ream of paper, and she goes, I found it. I found the bullshit.
Yeah, exactly.
Look, New Zealand, here it is.
With a green see-through cap on with a press thing coming out the side while she's got a cigar. Hey, look, let me just say something real quickly. That wasn't a pitch for money, okay? Right? Love you guys to bits. It wasn't a pitch for money. We're just giving you the reality of how this can be done without the big budget. Like it's so I notice I haven't put up I haven't put up the Patreon. This is not a pitch. Not in the slightest, right? I'm not asking for that, not doing it. But just remember, here's something else. Plunkett, right? They got $2 million. Would you like to guess, people in the chat? Shall I let them guess first and tell them after the next story? You know that conspiracy theory dumpster fire that is Reality Check Radio? How much do you think they were pitching for? And I'm reliably informed they got most of. How much do you think? How much do you think,
Put
people?
it in the chat.
Put it in the
Closest number
chat.
wins.
Plunkett got $2 million. Dumpster fire Reality Check Radio. I know people who went to some of the meetings, not to support them, but knew people who knew people and they got in to see some of their meetings. How much do you reckon? Put it in the chat and we'll tell you about it shortly. Or is there anything else you want to finish off with?
Way
Chewy,
too
on this
low,
story?
Joe. Way too low. No, I don't have anything else. I just want everybody to have a look at themselves in the mirror and go, I am very bad at this and I must do better.
Yeah.
Thousand times before they go to sleep.
Looks like other people sort of know the answer. The answer is they were pitching for $5 million to run that thing. That's why you see billboards in Auckland. I think they got more than 3 million, but they were pitching for 5 million and people dug their hands in their pockets. And what it is, and look, obviously I'm not asking anyone out there for this because no one's got this kind of money. What I've realized is people, I told us, okay, sorry, I told you guys that already. I'm sorry. I figured I'd do so many of these things, what I've said. So what I've realized as well, because I've spoken to some lefties during this time period worth tens and hundreds of millions of dollars. My opinion is, people think that all the money's on the right in media. It's not the case. Well, all the money's on the right, but the right seem to be more willing to dip their hand in their pocket to fund something political. So if a farmer's worth $5 million, he'll dip his hand in his pocket for $100K and give it to a cause. If a beautiful lefty is worth $100 million, it's harder to get anything out of them. Trust me, I've tried. And my opinion, and I can't say that for sure, but I've been looking and reading. My opinion is, it's the lefties who are worth a lot. It's they struggle to get behind a political or a news-based source than the righties do. So I reckon there's money on both sides, but those on the right, and if you have a look, probably coming from Trump and going down, are the ones who have decided to engage to take our country back, and that's what it's about. So we've had these conversations. I mean, I'll show you behind the curtains, by the end of next week. But I've had these, I won't say who or what, but I've had these conversations with people about investors and investing and, being business owners and, being angel investors. I've been doing this for 6 to 8 months hardcore and for 18 months full on. And the left don't want to play. I can't do anything about that. So we've gone backwards this year. And that's why, as I said to you earlier, before the end of next week, we'll talk to you about where BHN is going, and we'll let you all know. And look, again, this is not a pitch for anything. I mean, there's probably nothing you guys could do one way or the other. But we'll see what happens after the election, and we'll go from there. Hey, Chewie, can we do one more quick story?
Yeah, go on.
Because I think it would be good to get to this, even though it was from yesterday morning's AM show. Let's have a look at... don't say his name 3 times. He'll turn up in the mirror behind you. Let's have a look at this story. The AM show talked to Winston Peters, and it's only, look, you can see it's only kind of two and a half minutes. Talked to Winston Peters about National putting up those adverts, and it was in the thumbnail of tonight's episode, putting up the adverts that basically are warning about a second election. Stupidest thing any political party's ever done. So the AM show asked Mr. Peters about the advertising campaign that National has launched, basically to say, don't vote Winston.
Let's move to politics, and the National Party they've taken out these ads in the papers over the weekend, and they read, imagine no clear election winner, 8 weeks of coalition talks, a stalled economy, nothing gets done, don't risk the uncertainty to guarantee a change of government party like National.
Look, when I first saw that comment by Bishop, I thought, somebody's trying to set me up. This cannot be true. He will not have said that. And then I found out that he had said it, that Luxon was doubling down, and so was Seymour, and this was colossal in this context. Look, first of all, the last negotiations took 11 days, not specials. 8 weeks. Yeah, 11 days, that's a... Well, it took Germany 5 months after us. They had election day after us. It took them 5 months after us to get the job done. You see what I mean? This efficiency...
But it's taken you longer in the past.
No, it hasn't. It has not. This is 2023.
Okay, bold-faced lie, I'll show you shortly. He just said it took you longer in the past, and Winston said, no, it hasn't. Bold-faced lie.
The last outing is your last record, like the All Blacks will know.
He's trying to say you can only be judged based on your last outing. Horse shit.
And the second thing is, I thought, this is terribly inexperienced, and they will need experience now. It was a scaremongering of the worst sort. And what's deplorable about it? 500,000 people have voted. How dare you go out and say to them, you could be just wasted your time, and then you do it to the rest as well. And this
it's actually a fair comment from Winston. It's pretty piss poor that election is opening.
Has never, ever happened any time in New Zealand's democracy since 1854.
Yeah.
There's not a... Can I just say... Look,
he knows that
this
he
is
was
not
there.
Amateur hour. People will need experience, and boy, did they demonstrate that.
All right, so you're promising that you'll get a deal done with them.
Well, we've got to.
Nothing will stop it on your side.
Look,
what about a time limit on negotiations? That might shut that side of it up.
But no, but you don't say that. See, they say that the economy will stop when there's negotiations. Now,
that's enough. That's enough. So here's a story.
I can't think of anyone less equipped to interview Winston Peters than Ryan Bridge.
Here's a story from 2006 from the Herald. Election day, October 12th, 1996, 3 years after New Zealanders voted for a new electoral system, they ticked their new and more confusing ballot papers and delivered 120 men and women into Parliament. So October the 12th, right? What their voting did not deliver immediately was a government. Instead, negotiations would drag on until December the 10th, when National and New Zealand first announced a coalition deal to form a government that would, after a fashion, survive the next 3 years. So October, November, December. So close to 2 months, so 8 weeks. So that's what that references. And if you don't remember this, I kind of don't remember it, but I know it well enough. Winston went on a fishing trip. So Winston wasn't getting what he wanted, and he literally went off and went fishing for a period of time rather than staying negotiating. So Winston saying there that's never happened before, utter horseshit, utter horseshit, and sorry,
Bulldust.
Yep. Boulder Dash. So I don't know why he's trying to say it's not happened in the past. It has happened in the past, and Winston Peters is always the difficult person when it comes to these situations. So I don't hold his word with any kind of regard that he says he's going to make sure he makes the decision, but that's what he's saying, and trust him at your peril would be my suggestion, Chewie.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I got a couple of rapid fire things to wrap up the show, if you like.
I have got one other clip we could play, which is should Luxon have called out Winston. Should I've got one other little one. If we wanted to play that, are you interested in it? It's from Q&A.
Yeah, of course.
Every Monday show we have to have something from Q&A, don't we? Isn't that the rules?
Yes.
So this just wraps up actually the whole thing about the second election. I mean, what strategy person thought the second election announcement would be a good idea? So before there's an election, tell the people there might be a second election. That person should lose their job. So this is Q&A in the weekend, just to wrap up the Winston Peters conversation. Q&A in the weekend, finding out about should Luxon have ruled out Winston 3 months ago, 6 months ago.
Was it a mistake for Christopher Luxon not to rule out working with Winston Peters?
I think he should have done it earlier if that was the position. That would have been my view. It sort of meant that it was so late that it became an issue late in the campaign when people actually were focused on it.
So is the left bloc done for, do you think, next weekend?
And this is interesting because we've talked about this and people have brought up the idea about the Greens going with National, and I've said all the way through it was like when the Māori Party went with National, they were decimated the next time. It would decimate them. And Sue Bradford answers that now. I guess maybe not from the inside, but from someone who has been on the inside of the Greens.
No, I refuse to be defeatist. I think one of the biggest things, the biggest problems for the left bloc campaign has been a sense of cynicism and defeat. I love the Action Station campaign, which says get out, each of us try and get another 2 or 3 people to vote. Just getting the vote out, the undecided vote, and the people that feel defeated, that's really important. We have to offer hope and say, actually, it's not all lost. Every single vote that goes to Te Pāti Māori, to the Greens, to Labour, that's going to help create a more compassionate, empathetic society. It's our only hope in the face of these divisive and racist and the prospect of what could happen with the kind of government
So let's talk about options here for supporters of that so-called left bloc. Do you think the Greens membership would feasibly consider any sort of support deal with National?
No.
Why not?
Because it's just the opposite of almost all Green Party policy. I do understand National, and it's been on the table in the Green Party back in my day too. Some people did support such a deal. That National could offer post-election a whole lot of wonderful environmental options. But I believe now that the Green Party membership and MPs as a majority would never accept the deal that would accept the other side of National's policies in terms of tax cuts, of their policies on housing and the rest of it.
I suppose the counter-argument to that is that those things are going to happen regardless, right? So if National forms a government with ACT and or New Zealand First, those tax cuts are going to come through, those other social policies are going to happen. So the Greens could feasibly, at least on current polling, form a two-party support deal with National, whereby they at the very least had some concessions on climate change policy. And if climate change is this existential threat that the Greens constantly tell us it is, surely making progress in that space is more important.
This is the devil speaking. Many Green parties overseas have made that mistake and gone with right-wing parties into coalitions in Europe and other places. It's a huge mistake. It would destroy the Green Party in this country if it took that step, and I think they know it.
It would destroy the Green Party in New Zealand if they took that step.
Sue
Bradford has spoken. No, it won't never happen. But that's
because that sort of decision has to go to Green Party membership. They'd never go for it. Like, of all the parties, like we were talking about this earlier in the year when the Greens had their issues. The big thing with the Greens is that they are incredibly transparent.
Mm-hmm.
You know, their processes are all open. And in any sort of coalition agreement, they would take that to their membership. And I can tell you that their membership will not fucking go for it.
Yeah.
There's just no way. And that's why everybody's so certain. But they go, oh, yeah, but what if? It doesn't matter. Because their membership will say no.
Yeah. Yep. All right, Chewy, that's basically me for the night. There's some things you want to throw out there? I'm going to go.
I got a couple of... I'm going to start with something, admittedly, horrible. It's from just an art form that I really, really like. From unhinged people on Twitter that love to do artwork of Donald Trump in, I guess, unlikely situations. Apparently, he's the only one that can solve the problems in the Middle East.
Yeah,
that's horrible. I had to see it with my eyes, and now you did. I also want to throw over to another excellent comment about the situation over there. Golriz, please hold to humanity and compassion as affected communities feel the rise of prejudice. Israeli civilians Like, young people at Music Fest deserved safety. Hamas's actions were despicable crimes. There are also 1 million children living in Gaza. They deserve safety from IDF bombs.
100%.
100%. And here is my palate cleanser for the night, and something that I want you guys to hold on to for the next couple of days. It is not over. So the needle needs to shift just a little bit.
So let's read. We've got. Remember, an audio podcast, and I'm sure everyone's now subscribed to it. So let's read it out. Using the Herald poll of polls as the starting point, and following the scenario as an example, would lead to a Labour-led government with National and ACT on 59 seats, and Labour, Greens, and Te Pāti Māori on 61 seats. National are currently 35.8%, falls by 1% to 34.8%. Labour currently on 26.8%, rises by 2.1% to 28.9%. The Greens are currently on 12.3%, rise by 1 point to 13.3%. ACT currently on 10.6%, drops by 1 point to 9.6%. New Zealand First currently on 5.7%, drops by 1 point to 4.7%. Te Pāti Māori on 2.8% remains unchanged. In this scenario, the movement is generally a 3-point move away from a centre right to the left. Wow, that's really close.
And 3% is
margin of error.
Margin of error. So that's how close this is going to be. So everybody that has been going, and you'll see the comments on social media, left, right, and centre, you know, Labour's going to get thrashed. It's going to be a fucking landslide. It absolutely isn't. You know, talk to your friends that haven't voted. Talk to the young people in your life that haven't voted or don't think there's any point to it. Show them that. Tell them that this election will be within the margin of error. You have days left to vote.
Really interesting.
And if ever there was a time that an individual's vote and opinion matters, it's this one.
Yeah, a really good way to finish up, Chewy. Please, just a reminder, thank you for being with us tonight. Really, really stoked with the numbers. This will be going on YouTube now as well. So if you've come late or whatever, it'll be getting uploaded onto YouTube in the next hour, so you can be able to catch it tomorrow morning. But please, a favour we need from you guys is to subscribe to the audio podcast on Apple Podcasts and have a listen over the next few days. Tomorrow, have a listen back to your favourite part of this show. The next day, have a listen back to tomorrow night's part of the show. And through the weekend, we're dropping clips there. Have a bit of a listen. Help us get back up those charts, because they're important to help us get access at the end of this week to possibly some politicians on election night, right? That's what we want to be able to do. If we can say again we're number one on the charts, we'll be able to get it. You know, we want to get ahead of Duncan Garner. We want to get ahead of Leighton Smith, which we've done before. We're still kind of top 10. We can do again, but we need you to help us out. As I said, all of our chat tonight is probably based around a couple of things, right? Based around where we're at right now as a show, but also what we're going through with our strikes on YouTube. There's probably a little bit of tiredness, and I said a bit too much about some things tonight to you guys, but I feel like we're family. And I'm just sharing openly with you. Nothing I said tonight was a pitch for any kind of finance. I want to make that really clear. Don't go in fact, I've taken the merch stuff down. In fact, if someone went and bought one hoodie, it would be a real pain in the ass. Don't go and do that. We're not looking for any, and I'm not saying this like hey, don't do it. Hey, wink, wink. I'm saying don't. We're not looking for that. We're just keeping you guys in the loop as to what's going on. And after the election, we'll be able to go into more details as to what's the situation is. Okay, so be with us tomorrow night from 9 o'clock. We are not going to be live streaming Thursday night's leaders debate, but we will do a 9 p.m. show with some clips and highlights. 2 reasons. One of the conditions that TVNZ has put upon us to get rid of those checks on those strikes, so we're agreeing to it. And secondly, it actually is Thursday night. I think it's probably our last show before the election, so I actually feel like there's probably more to talk about than just the leaders debate. So, I have thought about a Friday night debate. Have we got a party on Friday night, Chewy? Is that the plan?
Oh, yes.
Is there?
Yes.
There is?
We're going to unplug for a bit.
So, but do we? We have? We don't say what it is, but we do? Okay. There'll be no show on Friday night. I was just going to put something out there, but there won't be. So Thursday night will be our last show. So actually, there's an element...
Don't get me in trouble, Pat.
No. So there's an element of... There's an element that there'll be too much to talk about to only do a leaders debate. So that's okay. So Thursday night will be 9 o'clock. Tomorrow night will be 9 o'clock. And thank you for being with us tonight from 9 o'clock. And look at this, we are 29 seconds away from 90 minutes, Joey, your favourite time period.
The 90-minute hour.
And Felix, I think we will be doing the election night. We'll just figure out how we're going to do it. But I think that will be happening. It may not be a full kind of 4 or 5 hour one, which is probably what you need, unless there's an early debate. But I don't know, maybe depending on how Chewy's time is, maybe we'll come back on Sunday night if there's things that aren't decided that we want to have a look at. But then we're going to be going the week after. So remember, we'll be here on Monday night as well. So we'll figure it out, whānau. You know, as we've thought for most of the year, in fact, Chewy, you'll testify to how much I think of you lovely people listening and watching. Often think of you first. When I try and get back here too early after having my gallbladder removed and stuff, hey, Chewy? Honestly, the audience, people watching, you individual watching, we do think of you first a lot. And so we are thinking of you when it comes to election night and subsequent information that you need as well. Trust me, you're a part of our plans. All right, team. Love you to bits. We will see you tomorrow night from 9 p.m. I don't know if we'll be on YouTube or not, but we'll be certainly where you're watching us now at the very least. And this episode will be getting uploaded to YouTube within the hour. So you'll be able to see it tomorrow night if you want to check back. And I'll do some clips of this tomorrow as well and share them around. All right, team. You're awesome. We'll catch you tomorrow night from 9. Be safe. Hooroo.
Cheers, man.